High-income ETFs have completely transformed the entire investing landscape over the last few years. And if you've been watching this channel, you know we talk a lot about covered call ETFs. These are investments that sell call options on their underlying holdings to generate premium income, which is then distributed to investors as a dividend yield. That income stream doesn't just look good on paper, it also acts as a cushion. It helps reduce volatility, gives you more stable cash flow, and makes it easier to dollar cost average into dips, especially when your dividends are distributed to your account every month or even every week. But there is a catch. The trade-off is that these ETFs often sacrifice growth. By selling call options, they limit how much upside the fund can capture. So yes, you're collecting income, but at the cost of capital appreciation. You can clearly see the difference when you compare funds like QQQI and the QQQ, where QQQI sells calls on the QQQ. The lag in total returns is a result of capping growth for income, and the difference becomes much more noticeable when we have sudden market rallies like we've seen in the last few months. That is why I have always been strict about one thing. A great covered call ETF must sell out of the money options. That gives the fund room to grow while still generating income. Simple, right? But what if you didn't have to do that? What if there was a way to rethink that rule entirely and still come out ahead? About a year ago, I talked about a covered call ETF that I believed had a superior strategy, one capable of capturing more total returns than most covered call ETFs on the market. And despite having much lower assets under management, it was the only high income fund I believed could realistically replace owning QQQ itself. Since then, my prediction came true. Its total returns have been far superior to almost every other high-income ETF in its category. Today, I'll show you exactly why and how this ETF achieved that, and what investors can learn by simply understanding how option strategies affect total returns. That is where GPIQ comes in, the Goldman Sachs Nasdaq 100 Core Premium Income ETF. And what they're doing is very different. To begin, let's start with going through the fund's fundamentals to get a better understanding of the ETF. GPIQ was established in October of 2023, so it is relatively new. Now, currently the fund has a dividend yield of around 10%, which is on par with other high-income ETFs in its category like JEPQ. Now, since inception, the fund has returned almost 100%, pulling heavily ahead of JEPQ, which has returned only around 72%. So how is GPIQ able to achieve superior returns? Now, immediately, my first impression was that the fund must be selling further out of the money call options to allow it to capitalize on more upward momentum relative to JEPQ. But that didn't make sense considering that they have the same dividend yield. So my next assumption was that the fund must be distributing more capital appreciation as its dividend yield, which means that the fund would not have a strong price return relative to JEPQ. But that wasn't the case either. Looking at its price return, which excludes dividend distributions, it is actually better than JEPQ and QQQI. Building a resilient portfolio isn't just about owning different stocks. It is about true asset class diversification. While ETFs are great for equities, sometimes investors want more direct exposure to assets like commodities, energy, or treasury yields. That's where Plus 500 futures can fit into a modern strategy. The platform provides access to futures on crude oil, gold, silver, and even Bitcoin. They also offer micro contracts, which allow you to take smaller position sizes with lower capital requirements, with commissions as low as 49 cents per micro contract. This can help investors fine-tune exposure without committing large amounts of capital. And Plus 500 operates in a CFTC-regulated environment with no inactivity fees. If you use my link to open and fund an account with at least $300, you can receive a $60 welcome credit. Terms and conditions apply, and you can find the link below in the description or comment section. Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Leverage can work against you as well as for you. And of course, big thanks to Plus 500 for sponsoring today's segment. Okay, so how does the fund work? GPIQ is still a covered call ETF that holds stocks within the QQQ and sells call options against it. You can see that the funds have very similar holding breakdowns. However, unlike most ETFs, GPIQ isn't selling out of the money call options, it is actually selling at the money call options. And if you watched my previous videos, you know that I am against funds that sell at the money call options. Why? Because that means you are restricting the growth potential of the underlying assets completely, and you're solely relying on income generation from your returns. Funds like QYLD or XYLD sell at the money call options on the Nasdaq 100 and the S&P 500 respectively, and you can see how much they lag the other ETFs that sell out of the money call options. But GPIQ added their own interesting twist. You see, funds like QYLD and XYLD are selling call options on 100% of their assets. And that is not good when you're using an at-the-money strategy. And all that really means is that, for example, let's say you own 1,000 shares of the QQQ. If you were to write call options on your entire position, considering that one call option represents 100 shares of stock, you would sell 10 call options. Simple. But for GPIQ, instead of selling call options on the entire 100% of its assets, the fund managers are selling at-the-money call options on only 25% to 50% of its assets, so averaging at around 35%. And there are two reasons why this is very effective. For one, the fund is leaving around 3/4 of its assets free to appreciate in value without any cap, which is fantastic. But the second reason is that selling at-the-money call options naturally generates a lot more premium income than selling out-of-the-money call options. So essentially, the fund managers are capitalizing on high levels of premium income in line with what JEPQ is able to collect while using a smaller portion of the fund to do so. And this is genius because it heavily impacts its total returns, its ability to minimize volatility, and its expense ratio. And just to give you an idea of how much of a difference there is between selling at the money and out of the money call options, take a look at this chart. The amount of income you receive from selling just one at the money call option is significantly higher than what you get from selling out of the money calls. To earn the same premium as a single at the money call, you would need to sell 136% more contracts at 1% out of the money, that's more than double, 190% more contracts at 2% out of the money, nearly 3 times as many, and 640% more contracts at 5% out of the money. That is over 6 times as many. Now, these numbers can vary based on market conditions, but this example was pulled directly from a real QQQ options chain just a few months ago, and it highlights just how steep the trade-off is when choosing out-of-the-money strikes for the sake of upside potential. So essentially, the fund managers are strategically using a specific percentage of the fund to sell at-the-money call options to achieve their desired income, which matches other funds, while leaving everything else open to appreciate without any cap. This allows GPIQ to capture more upside potential while still being able to minimize volatility, and I really like that. You can see that its strategy works. Now, GPIQ is regularly compared to QQQI. Both are covered call ETFs on the Nasdaq 100 and both have provided exceptional total returns. The biggest difference, however, is that QQQI distributes a much higher dividend yield, and that is strictly because the fund managers are distributing a larger portion of the fund's total returns as dividends rather than capital appreciation. A few months ago, I told investors that based on strategy alone, GPIQ will be able to capture slightly more upside over time, because it is restricting the growth of only a portion of its underlying holdings, as opposed to QQQI, which sells call options on a much larger percentage, between 70 to 100% of its holdings. And we have seen exactly that play out over the past few months. After the March sell-off, GPIQ has captured nearly 2 times the total returns of QQQI. And that is exactly why the fund has a better momentum score on platforms like Seeking Alpha. And compounded over time, that can make a massive difference. So in my opinion, the fund managers are using their capital very effectively and very efficiently. That is also why I think the fund is able to charge a lower fee even if it's temporary, because they are selling less call options than most funds, which means they are paying less in fees. Now, looking at the fund's dividend distributions, they are very consistent. This shows that the distributions are very well managed. And for income investors and retirees who rely on their portfolio for income, it is extremely beneficial. It's much easier to track your income over time. This is very different to JEPQ, where its dividend distributions fluctuate every month. And that is because JEPQ uses something called ELNs. Now, the dividend yield of the fund is also very tax efficient. It distributes over 90% as return of capital. So at the end of the day, you as the investor get to keep more of that money. I did make a video on return of capital and how it works in detail, but to give you a brief summary, the concept of return of capital is essentially returning a portion of your original investment in a fund back to you in the form of a dividend. And since this isn't actual income generation, it is not taxed when received. This means that the dividends you receive from GPIQ are tax deferred and you don't pay taxes on them immediately. Now, when you look at the fund's website and click on prospectus, on page 29 where it talks about the fund's distributions, it states that the fund pays distributions from its investment income and from net realized capital gains. A significant portion of the fund's distributions may constitute a return of capital for tax purposes. Now, to be clear, return of capital doesn't matter if you're investing in a Roth IRA because all dividends and capital gains are not subject to any taxes whatsoever. Remember, Roth IRAs are funded with after-tax dollars. The classification of dividends only matters if you're investing in a regular cash account or a margin account. Also keep in mind that if you're investing in an IRA, return of capital doesn't matter either because anything that is withdrawn from an IRA is subject to one's current income tax rate. So there's no real distinction between dividends or capital appreciation, which sucks. Now, circling back to return of capital, the tax advantage doesn't last forever. As you receive these returns, your original investment or adjusted cost basis gradually decreases. For example, GPIQ has a dividend yield of 12%. So had you invested $100,000 in the ETF, in year one, you may receive $12,000 in return of capital dividends. So now your original investment amount, or ACB, which was $100,000, goes down to $88,000. And in the following year, let's say you collect another $10,000 in dividends as return of capital. Now your adjusted cost basis goes down to $78,000. And this continues year after year until your adjusted cost basis eventually reaches zero. This is something you have to keep track of yourself. Very important to remember. So essentially, you've gotten back all of the money that you originally invested. And remember, none of these distributions were taxed. However, now, after your ACB hits zero, every further dividend distribution will be taxed as capital gains indefinitely. So overall, GPIQ has put a very interesting and effective twist on the covered call strategy. Instead of selling out of the money call options, like most of the covered call ETFs that I'm a fan of, it is selling at the money call options, but on a very small portion of the fund. So they are able to capitalize on high levels of income, but also on high levels of capital appreciation. And in my opinion, they could outperform other high income ETFs over time. Now, QDVO is also an ETF that I'm a fan of, but its strategy is very different, so it's tough to compare the two directly. Just keep that in mind. And that is all for this one. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye! This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not financial, investment, tax, or legal advice. Discussions of ETFs, investing strategies, market updates, or specific funds are general, not tailored to your financial situation, and should not be relied upon for decision-making. Investing involves significant risks, including total loss of principal, and past performance does not guarantee future results. I am not a registered financial advisor. My content reflects personal research and publicly available information. I may earn affiliate commissions from mentioned products or links disclosed per FTC guidelines, but these do not influence my opinions. Always consult a licensed financial professional and verify information independently. By watching this, you agree I am not liable for any losses or consequences from your actions. International viewers should consult local regulations.